ballsy. I don't. I'm a stud. I'm ballsy. I don't take no shit from anyone. I smoke my stogie anywhere I want. I don't have to find a hideout place like you.
Welcome, Brutal Planet. We are here live today with, in about 5-10 minutes, Nikki Stringfield will be here. She has a solo record coming out. For those of y'all who don't know, she is the lead guitarist for the Iron Maiden tribute band, the Iron Maidens, who are awesome. And she has this this solo project coming up that I got a chance to listen to, and it's got some really awesome stuff on it. So we're going to talk a little bit about that, among other things. And I was just watching, I don't know if you know who Russell Brand is. I just happened to catch this thing on my way to log in, that he's being accused of doing the sex in a way that someone didn't like, I guess. So it's interesting to me that, you know, they talked about the allegations were from like people like 10 years ago, 15 years ago. And if you've watched what he's doing now, he's kind of like getting at powerful interest type thing. So it's kind of interesting that all of a sudden, you know, that seems to happen when you're one of those types of people who's kind of being critical of power structures. All of a sudden, the he's a sex crime guy accusations come out. And, you know, I'm not saying one thing or another, but I do think it's funny that the court of public opinion is really all that matters in this day and age, because it's like people are like, the headlines are already out there. People are always like, oh, he's a scumbag, he's a piece of trash, he's terrible. And it's like, okay, does anyone get a fair trial anymore? I mean, these are accusations. They're not proof of anything. If someone said something, I can say stuff and, you know, I could say that guy's a rapist and it doesn't mean anything. So anyway, I just, it's kind of disappointing how quickly people, I think, jump to conclusions. And I think the reason I'm a little sensitive to is I have a friend, let's call him a friend, an acquaintance, who had this situation a few years ago where he was a personal trainer, and he was training this girl who he began having a sexual relationship with, consensual relationship. She was of legal age, everything, lived with her parents, and he was actually married. So he was cheating on his wife, which is not cool, but it happened. But because her parents were like kind of hyper religious and she was young, she was legal age, but young, they accused him of being a rapist. They're like, oh, he raped her. And then, you know, of course she came, the question then is like, why did you keep coming back if he raped you? Like you guys had multiple encounters, all that kind of stuff. So anyway, I don't want to go too into the weeds on that because, you know, again, I'm not one to judge either way. You know, if there's evidence, let's see the evidence. And I just think it's lame that people are so quick to jump on this whole bandwagon of the court of public opinion, because again, anyone can say anything at any time. And, you know, that doesn't make it real. An accusation is not an indictment. Even an indictment is basically an accusation. An indictment is just like hey, we're accusing you of this and you have to come to court and defend yourself. So it's wild how I think the media, people, you know, a lot of people complain about social media. A lot of people complain about the effect that social media has on people, because it's so siloed and people are able to really target messaging. So, but it's no different than television or radio was back in the day. It has the same kind of influence. We're all kind of circled around this virtual water cooler, so to speak, where we did you hear about the guys in the submarine that went to see the Titanic type stuff? You know what I mean? It's like, oh, everyone was talking about that all of a sudden. It's like, okay, these are some rich guys that threw a bunch of money at a stupid thing, but we're all talking about it. Well, there's way more, there's tons of other more important things happening, I'm sure, but for whatever reason, that narrative, that's the control apparatus that has us all talking. And it's I think it's even worse now with social media because it's the same basic principle, but now people are able to kind of wall themselves into their own curated world where they don't have to hear anything but what they want to hear. So you can filter out all the shit that you don't like or don't want to listen to, basically, and just, live in your own private cave where your own opinions are just constantly reflected back at you and you never have to hear anything to the contrary. So anyway, I'm done yapping. Nikki is here, and let's bring her on stream. Nikki.
Hello. How's it going?
Very good, thank you. How are you?
I'm good. Sorry, my dog will probably be interrupting us.
Oh, I love it.
Every now and then.
We love it. We love it. Dogs are part of the game. They're part of the family.
Exactly, and 2 cats. So we'll see.
All right. What's your dog's name?
Rollo.
Rollo. I like that. Like the candy?
Actually, like the Viking.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, wow. But he does look like the candy, so it fits.
I'm uneducated, clearly, and I come from Viking descent myself. So.
Oh, really? Yeah.
I'm a Swedish ancestry. So.
Nice. Yeah, the show Vikings. The asshole brother is Rollo, and he actually, in real life, went on to conquer Paris, and they named Normandy after him.
That's so funny.
Person.
My cousin has 2, like, they're chit pits. They're like miniature Chihuahua pit bulls. Uh-huh. And they're both named after characters from Vikings. One's name is Siggy.
Yep.
And I don't remember. I always forget the other one's name. But
I love it. Siggy's, that's a cute one.
Yeah. They're amazing. They're like these little tiny, they're amazing dogs. They're like Chihuahua pit bulls. Like,
kind of like him. Small, but very mighty.
Yeah. All those dogs.
Yes.
So enough about dogs. Let's talk about your career. So I like to ask people, how did you get here? How did you get into music? Like, what inspired you? How did you get started? And go as deep as you want on that, or be as, vague as you want.
Yeah. Luckily I have awesome parents. They listened to rock and metal when I was growing up. So AC/DC, Metallica, Maiden. My dad played in a band, so he played guitar. So I grew up around that. Okay. And so I always loved singing in the car, which I didn't start singing until recently, but I knew I wanted to play guitar. So after I got out of my, I'm born in 90. So after I got out of my Backstreet Boys phase, I decided I really wanted to get serious with guitar. I fell in love with Nirvana, and I just picked up a tab book. I learned every single song in it. I just sat and I just drilled it into my head. 2 Minutes to Midnight was one of the first riffs that I learned too. So Maiden goes way back for me. And that's when my love for it just really started. My mom took me to concerts all the time, and I just knew I wanted to be up on that stage. I was like, I can do that. But I grew up in a tiny little town in Texas, just south of Dallas, and there was really nothing to do there, nobody to jam with at all. So I moved to Austin to go to the University of Texas because everybody called it the live music capital of the world. So I was like, I'm definitely going to find people to jam with there, because I had started putting videos on YouTube when it first started, just covers and everything. And I didn't find anybody to jam there with either. So I was like, God, I just did what I had to get by in college. I still went to concerts all the time with my friends, and I got an internship to Warner Brothers Music for the digital distribution department. And that's how I got to move to Los Angeles. And as soon as I moved out here, to finish my last semester, that just kind of did it. I started playing with the Iron Maidens, which is an all-female tribute to Iron Maiden that I'm still in today. And I joined an original band called Before the Morning that had just started. And yeah, it just kind of took off from there. My first live gig was on my 22nd birthday. So
Amazing.
yeah, it was pretty crazy. I went from just really nothing to head first into it.
How did you link up with the Iron Maidens? Is that a thing where they were already going and you joined, or
Oh yeah. They've been around since 2001. So
Okay.
I think it's what, 22 years now.
Wow.
And so the guys that I started playing with, I met at the NAMM show, and they knew Courtney and Nita at the time. And so at the time, Nita was always a sub guitar player. And there was also Neely Brosh, who was subbing too for the Dave Murray position. So they had me also be a third sub. So it was the rotating ends, the Nikki, Neely, Nita. And so that's kind of how I got my start with them. But yeah, they've been going strong for a long time. It's pretty crazy, and our touring schedule has only gotten a lot busier. It's been really busy this year.
Yeah, I haven't had the chance to catch you all live personally, but I've seen plenty of video, and you put on a great performance from what I've seen.
Thank you. It's pretty mind-blowing how, because when I started playing with them, we were playing a lot of local Southern California shows, and now it's a lot of international touring, and we rarely play at home now. So it's totally,
that's amazing.
It's flipped quite a bit.
But that's got to be a great gig. You're like out playing music, even if it's not original tunes, you're out just playing music that you love.
Yes.
For audiences. And
absolutely. And we change up the set list quite often, so you never get bored with it. We make sure we play different sets every time we go to different cities, so you'll always hear different songs. We play the hits, but we also play a lot of the more obscure stuff too.
That's awesome.
So it never gets boring. And it's fun music to play, like you said. So, and I love Maiden.
Maiden has such a vast catalog. To something you said earlier too, we posted this video a couple weeks ago with Incubus, and they were talking about the songs they played when they first started. And when you're talking like Iron Maiden and Metallica, it's like those are cool songs, they're cool riffs, but they're not that difficult. So like a guitar player who's just picking it up can pick something up and go, wow, I can play this.
Absolutely. Yeah, and it's so cool too to see all these young kids. They'll tag us in their videos, or we see them at the shows. And there's just so many young kids coming up still playing Maiden and everything, and to see them online, and they'll tag you, and it's cool to see still the younger generation into that music as well.
Yeah. So I was kind of like kicking around through YouTube, looking at stuff, and you have something that, you're on a level where there are fans making videos of you, like posting videos of you. You have like fan generated content already. So when did you get to the point when you decided, I'm going to do this solo album, I'm going to put out my own record and stuff?
Gosh, I had been wanting to do it forever. Like I said, I always wanted to sing, but I was too scared. I was too shy. But finally, I just reached a point where I was like, you know what, I'm going to do this for me. And if people like it, cool. If not, whatever. I did it for me. And so I did my EP, Harmonies for the Haunted. We released that in 2019, and people actually really liked it. And so I was like, okay, let's go full steam ahead with this. But then the pandemic hit. So that I didn't really get to do much with it. We didn't even do a real video for it. So, since we were just sitting at home the whole pandemic, I was like, well, let's start writing this new one. We're going to do a full length, and I'll just put everything I have into it and just see what I can do. And people have been so extremely supportive of it. And, I started doing these acoustic shows because we weren't sure if live music was going to come back or to what capacity after things died down with the pandemic. So doing these acoustic shows, some of them I've done 3 hours by myself, has really, I feel like, helped me as a vocalist. And I think that's really helped prepare me to do my own stuff too, and to front the band. Because it's a big step going from guitar to, okay, now you're going to be on this mic, and now it's on you. Now it's really on you. it's all on you. So I'm just super excited to do this album release show next week too. It's like I said, I'm putting it all. It's everything. It's all me. So 1000% me. Uh-oh. I just lost your audio here.
My bad. Can you hear me now? Sorry.
Yeah.
So, but rewind a little bit. Every time I go on stream, it's like the dudes with leaf blowers show up, or there's like a garbage truck backing up. So I hit my mute button.
Oh,
so it didn't be what we're talking to you.
No problem. Yeah, I figured it was my end because technology has not been working for me lately. So.
Yeah. No, that was my rookie mistake there.
Oh, good.
But and now I totally lost my train of thought. What did I ask you before that? Well, it doesn't matter.
How I took the leap into doing my original stuff.
Yeah, well, okay, we were talking. Oh, okay, now I remember. Yeah. I was saying that once you get to the point where you're actually fronting, you're like the MC as well. So it's a lot more responsibility than just playing guitar. Now you're like running the show.
Yeah. Yeah, and I will say, like I said, I've always been the quiet one, so that's probably the biggest challenge. I'm good singing, I'm good playing. Yeah, it's right now I'm just practicing. Like I said, practicing being the front person, which is a totally different world.
That's amazing. How long did it take? Like, did you intentionally sit down and write this batch of songs, or did you write like a bunch of songs and kind of handpick the ones you wanted to appear on the record?
Some of them were written there were a couple that were written a while ago before I actually started writing for this album. I found them on my computer. I had totally forgotten. I was like, this one probably will fit. And I actually, here's Rolo. And
what's up, buddy?
He always has to get right in the camera at some point. He's always star of the show.
I love it. He's got to share the spotlight.
Always, yeah. He's sitting in the sun, so he's real hot. We have As Chaos Consumes, which was actually the first single that I ever put out. We re-recorded it and put it on this album too because people really liked that song. So I was like, it should be on a CD. And we recorded a cover of Kiss from a Rose, Seal's Kiss from a Rose, and rocked it up and made it our own. And I've always wanted to cover that song. I was
definitely going to mention that. That was I literally teared up when I heard that. It was like the thing that I thought was great about it too is like everything I would have wanted in a metal remake of that song.
Yeah.
Like you didn't really stray much from the original. The arrangements are the same, but you did it like metal, and it was brilliant. I had to like listen to it 3 times.
Thank you. Yeah, there were so many. I looked it up online, and there's so many covers of that song. So many, but most people try to really Rolo.
He liked it too.
He hears his buddy outside. Yeah, I just there were so many that tried to do exactly what he did, and there's so many vocal layers and harmonies in that song.
Yeah,
I was like, what? Well, we can maybe do that with the guitars, or do that here and there. And really happy with how it came out, and I will say it's sounding really good in the rehearsal room. So really stoked for that one.
The song has like almost kind of like a medieval like ballady feel to it, like bards played it with like a lute or whatever.
Yeah.
So I think it works well with a metal kind of spin on it.
Absolutely. Like I said, we're doing it's clean and acoustic at the beginning, so we're trying to work that out as well into the show. So and keep that kind of tone about it too, because I love that. I love the medieval Viking-ish stuff. Yeah. So some of my songs kind of have a little bit of a Viking tone, metal Viking tone to it. So I love that stuff.
Yeah, I think it's a heavy metal thing. It's kind of like it's almost like a European type of background or however you want to put it.
The horns, yes, of course. Especially in Europe, yeah, absolutely.
I watched a thing a couple years ago. It was like, I think it was like Mythbusters or one of those types of shows, and they did this experiment where they played music for plants
Uh-huh.
and like deprived them of all of it, like sunlight and other stuff. And the plants that grew the tallest were the ones that they played metal and classical music for.
Really?
And I thought that was interesting. I'm like, I wonder if that has anything to do with like the scales or anything. Like
Huh.
as a
Yeah,
guitar player, I'm sure you could appreciate that. Like,
that's really interesting. That's cool to know. Yeah, I wonder what songs and what bands they
yeah,
played.
that's a great question. I totally need to dig up the footage from that. I'm pretty sure it was Mythbusters or one of those types of shows. I'm
Yeah,
almost positive that's what it was, but I was like, that's cool.
I'm gonna look that up too. That's really cool. I
I might
believe.
have to dig up the footage. And we just recently covered Seal did this thing for Amoeba. I'm sure you know Amoeba Records.
Oh yeah. Uh-huh.
And have you ever seen that thing they do called What's in My Bag, where they they grab people and have them show what records they bought?
Oh, I don't think so.
Okay, well, Amoeba has this really cool segment they do on their YouTube, and they had Seal, and we just lit on one of our streams cover this thing because he was like just gushing about Alice in Chains and how much he loves Alice in Chains.
Nice.
So I thought that was cool too.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah,
As an addendum to your-
that's really cool because Alice in Chains, I'm a huge grunge person, and all of their backing vocals are like are the first single that I'm gonna have, Where the Demons Lie. It's very Alice in Chainsy with the backing vocals and everything.
the
I just
harmonies.
love, yes, the harmonies are so amazing in Alice in Chains.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cantrell is a G.
Yes.
I watched another video of you and Patrick playing the Avenged Sevenfold song Backcountry, and I was like, another one where I was like, wow, that's a song that like stripped down in that format. I had no idea like how intricate that song is, like the melodies and the
Yeah.
breakdowns and stuff.
Yeah, that one I have all these crazy ideas of what song's going to be really difficult to do, but we can do it and still play it, because I'm like, we have to be able to play all these songs live. Like, we're not just
Yeah.
gonna do it here. We actually get up and play them out here when we do our acoustic shows. And yeah, it's such a cool song musically. It really is. And the arpeggios and stuff that we're doing under the what would that be? Not the verses, but I guess the
That little breakdown that was like, na, na, na.
Mario not here.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like the break, I guess.
Yeah. I'm like, what is that
The
exactly?
bridge.
Yeah, just the little arpeggios that I'll do during that. It's very musical. That one's a lot of fun to play. Difficult, but it's a lot of fun. And actually, Avenged shared our version of it, so I kind of had my little bit of a fangirl moment with that.
Nice.
I was like, yes. So that one we're pretty proud of.
That's a band that I just recently gained an appreciation for. I didn't really like them that much when I first heard them. I don't know why. I think it was that era. They were like on TRL or something. I was like,
City of Evil, probably.
yeah. And then their newer stuff that they just put out kind of pulled me in the
The Life
Brooks
is
Wackerman. Yeah. And then I went back and started listening to their old stuff, and I went, wow, like, why did you write these guys off? They're incredible musicians.
Yeah.
It's heavy. It's like it's more. I think it was the vocals probably that turned me off, because I was one of those people who grew up listening to like James Hetfield and Phil Anselmo. So I didn't really appreciate like the Bruce Dickinson vocal style until the classic metal, like the Halford and the Dickinson metal style, until recently. And now that I fully understand it, I think I'm able to better grasp a band like Avenged Sevenfold. So,
oh my gosh, their new album, like, yeah, they're one of my favorite bands. Obviously, Sinister Gates is probably my ultimate guitar idol, because I was 14 maybe when City of Evil came out, maybe.
wow.
And seeing guitar solos kind of come back, and them just shredding, I was like, oh my gosh, I can do that now. That's kind of back in style. That Life is But a Dream, I was like, oh, what is this? Because like you said, it's so different from everything they've done, and I was unsure. I was like, I think we were on the road and it came out that night at midnight, and I was just listening and It's like, wow, this is so crazy different. And every time you listen to it, you hear something new. And especially the end of the album, it's just a wild ride. It's a definitely my album of the year.
I love music like that. I my background, like my favorite bands are bands like Mr. Bungle and Faith No More and
Yeah,
all those crazy. So I feel like Avenged Sevenfold kind of like took a little bit of that, where they're just like, we're just gonna throw the rule book out the window and just do what we want to do.
yeah,
And I love that album. It's so good. And
yeah.
I like music that makes me uncomfortable, or when I first hear it, I'm like, ugh, I don't know.
Yeah, and I was definitely, I'm like, that's my favorite band. They can pretty much do no wrong. But at first I was like, I don't know what to think of this. I was telling my husband, you go listen. Oh my God. Oh my gosh, go listen to this. Whoa, they just went there. And I love how the very last song is just all piano. It's beautiful. I just love that they did what they wanted to do, and just for the sake of art and what they wanted, which is so.
I think another thing that kind of drew me into them is Brooks Wackerman, their drummer.
Yeah.
He was in Infectious Grooves, and he did this record with Infectious Grooves called Groove Family Psycho, and I think he was like 14 or something when they recorded that record. And it's like the drumming on it is like, still to this day I go back and listen, I'm like, this is incredible.
Insane.
So
He makes it look so easy too.
yeah, it's cool. I think that's another reason too that I kind of went, okay, I got to look into this band if he's playing with them now.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. And he really stepped in and added a lot to it, and it's still like very similar to the Rev, which was great, but just killer musicians.
Do you have any influences? Like earlier you talked about Backstreet Boys. Do you have any like guilty pleasures or influences that are non-metal that you would call out, or that you're comfortable admitting to?
Yeah, being from Texas, my parents weren't very big into country, but I love some Shania Twain. I love to do some Shania karaoke. I love Lady Gaga. I love her voice. And Christina Aguilera. I love these people with just Kelly Clarkson.
Yes.
Anybody
Big
that
Kelly Clarkson fan.
Yeah, I was just listening to her earlier today.
What Doesn't Kill You Makes You Stronger. Like that album has some bangers on it.
Yeah. So those are some of my top. I'm still a Backstreet Boys nerd over here. That's pretty much. So those are all on my phone. I like Eminem. Yeah, those are probably my top guilty pleasures.
I geek out on like songwriting and stuff. And the guy, do you ever heard of Max Martin?
I know the name. That sounds really familiar.
I always bring him up because he broke the Backstreet Boys. Like he's a producer who wrote he's like kind of like a behind the scenes song, but he's a metal guy. He's a former metal singer, like Swedish dude, and the guy has had a #1 hit on Billboard every year since like 2000, starting with Backstreet Boys. He was behind Hit Me Baby One More Time, Britney Spears.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
His name is on like I Can't Feel My Face by The Weeknd, like Taylor Swift's what's that one song with the one that kind of anyway, one of Taylor Swift's big hits, like all that kind of stuff. So it kind of there's some carryover.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. Just some people, that act like you can only, I got so much hell for liking Nirvana in high school, like from my metalhead friends, like you can't like them. I'm like, you can't deny the hooks, and you can't deny I'm not going to sit here and say I don't like something just because you think it's not cool and it's not metal. All these metalheads like that kind of stuff, of course.
Totally. For the most part, I think metalheads are pretty open-minded. They have to be, because it's kind of like the outcast music, right?
Exactly.
And that Nirvana record, I just watched this. Have you ever seen Rick Beato, the YouTuber?
Yes.
He did a thing with Butch Vig from, the guy who recorded Nevermind, who's from Garbage and stuff. And it's like that album is just, even if you hate rock music, it's like one of the best recorded, produced records of all time. It's just like,
I've watched all the making ofs, and and everything. It's just, yeah, every single song is like a hit. You can pick any of the songs on there, and it's just hit after hit after hit, hook after hook.
And songwriting, I think, is what really separates people like a Kurt Cobain from just an average, like, punk rock band or whatever. Like someone said that about Metallica too. It's like, that's why Metallica kind of rises above some of the other bands from their, ilk, because they are great songwriters.
Yes, absolutely. I know some of my favorite bands are the most simple, the simpler, the catchier the hook. I mean, kind of the better. Like growing up, one of my favorite bands to go see live was Papa Roach, and they're just a couple of chords in a lot of their songs, but it's so catchy, it's so memorable. The energy live is, they're I think one of the best live bands that I've ever seen. Every time, their energy, just everything about them, and they're such nice guys on top of it. And yeah, I just always people, I think people expect me to be more of a instrumental shred player on these albums that I'm doing, because I remember I did for Harmonies for the Haunted, I had 2 songs on the Heidi and Frank show here in Los Angeles, and it's it's called Stay or Go, and people call in to vote for you to stay or go. And so both of my songs got voted stay, which was awesome. But even they were saying, because the Iron Maidens have played at some of their events, they're like, oh, it's more just kind of grooving, and it's not a bunch of guitar everywhere. And I was like, well, for this stuff, I'm writing for the song. And some of the songs have more intricate guitar parts, but a lot of them, I just wanted to focus on the song. And if it called for a lot of guitar, then I did more. But if not, I just wanted the writing to kind of be the focus.
A good song is a good song. It doesn't matter if it's a guy beating on a garbage can and singing over it, or like a full symphony orchestra,
Mm-hmm. 3 chords versus a million notes.
Yeah, there's joy and simplicity a lot of times too.
Exactly.
And you don't need to do, like, people probably have you in that box where they're like, oh, well, you're a guitar, so you need to do a lot of guitar, like, all the time.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what I'm slowly trying to break away from, because I still get that a lot of people just like, oh, it's going to be instrumental. I'm like, nope, definitely. Is that you singing? Yeah, that's me singing, which I'm happy about. I like the challenge.
Yeah. The album, I listened to the whole thing through a couple times, and there are a lot of great tracks in there. I mean, I didn't listen to it where I got to sit down and like read the song names, because I was listening to it on a YouTube stream. But I was impressed with the dynamics of the album. There's a lot of like time and tempo shifts, and it's big. Like there's a lot of like epic songs in there, and then you got the Seal song, "The Kiss from the Rose," in there. When I heard that, when I saw it in the track list, I went like, I hope that's a cover.
Yay!
And then when I got there, I was like, okay. And again, I literally like teared up a little bit when I heard that, because I was like, absolutely perfect. Absolutely perfect.
Thank you. I've heard a few people be like, "Ooh, I don't like that song," but yours is okay. I like yours.
No, because it just works so well. Like I said, it has that medieval kind of the bards and the lutes type sound to it.
Yeah,
with the flutes and the.
Oh yeah, I know. I should have brought somebody in to do that.
Like you'd hear it at a Ren fair or something.
Yeah, exactly.
No, it's beautiful. It's beautiful.
Thank you.
So I want to ask you a little bit about. Do you have a hard stop at 1:30?
No.
Do you have a few minutes? Okay.
Yeah.
I want to ask you a little bit about, because I'm a little bit of a guitar player myself. You can probably see.
Yeah.
So what's your preference? Do you play like particular brand, or do you? I mean, I'm sure you probably have some sponsorships, but I'm curious to hear, like, talk shop with you a little bit about guitar stuff.
Oh yeah. So I've been playing Schecter guitars since I was 14.
Awesome.
My favorite.
I have 2 Schecters behind me.
Nice. Yeah.
And a copy of a Strat.
Yeah. Oh, nice. Yeah. I've just played them since I was 14. This purple one here is actually my second signature model. So they've been awesome enough to give me 2 signature models. And
Wow.
the first one is pretty much like this one, and it's red. It's a red burst with a couple of differences. And then this green one, these two are
Oh,
actually
that's gorgeous.
next week for the show. This one was kind of a custom one they did for me before I got my signature series. So I'm pretty much all
Schecter.
Schecter. Yeah, they've been so good to me. They gave me my first job when I moved to LA to help
That's
me.
amazing.
Let me be the receptionist. So yeah.
When you do that, do they bring you in? Like, do you get to like choose like the pickups, or like how does that work? Do you get to build it out, build your own custom guitar?
Pretty much. Yeah. I got to pick the pickups. Actually, I was using Seymour Duncan's. I have like a different Seymour Duncan in every guitar. Like this one has a Nazgul and a Sustainiac, but this one in my other signature model had an Invader. But this one, Schecter started doing their own pickups, so they made me a pickup based off of an Invader. So you get to pretty much pick everything: the inlays, the color, the shape, the wood. Since I play so much, my first signature model was pretty heavy, so I had them shave it down a bit so it's a bit lighter for me. This one is. That helps me not like look so lopsided all the time from a guitar being on my shoulder constantly. But yeah, they pretty much gave me full reign of it. So
I like Schecter for the reason that I always leaned towards the like humbucker sound, like the Gibson, like the big crunchy, like it's like a wider sound. Like the Fender, the single coil is kind of a little more like thin, I guess is the best way to describe it. But with a Schecter, I have both. I have like the neck pickup, which is the single coil, and then I have EMGs, which I kind of don't like because I don't like battery powered pickups, because I always, if I leave my guitar plugged in and the battery dies or whatever, so I'm looking to swap those out. But
yeah, I've always been a passive person besides the Sustainiacs because I love them. But yeah, I think the one time I had EMGs in one of my Schecters, I switched them out with my friend for his Screamin' Demon. I think that guitar is at my parents' house, I think.
What kind of amplifier do you use?
I use a Kemper Profiler.
Oh, wow. I don't think I've ever even heard of that.
Oh my God. It is such a game changer in the studio and live because I just fit it in a little flight case and I put it in the overhead bin because we mostly fly, and take it everywhere with me. And I have my exact tone everywhere I go. Dialed in. Yeah. And we did a 6-week tour in February and March, opening for Accept in Europe. And they had a Kemper there. And the coolest thing was, so I didn't have to bring mine. You just download your whole settings onto a USB drive. Oh, wow. Take the USB to whatever other Kemper and you just upload it. And after a few minutes, your exact tone is in the Kemper. It's like a little spaceship.
That's awesome. Wild. I'm so out of the game. Like I haven't bought a gear in such a. I have like a Carvin tube head. So I'm still in like the analog world. But the guy from I think it was Messer the other day was telling me about how they use so many alternative tunings. He has some kind of like AI device that like retunes their guitar digitally. I'm like, what? They can do that now? Holy, I'm living in the Stone Ages over here.
It's crazy. Mine has that too, because in my other band, Heaven Below, they're a half step down. And a lot of times I have to go back and forth. And so there's a switch to where you can set it up to go to any tuning. So it'll just pitch shift it.
That's amazing.
It's a trip. So as long as you don't hear the string noise, you're just, it's a different tuning. It's wild. And honestly, like Accept was all on Kempers too. And because people, I'm all for, I love the tube amps too. It's just, you can't take them with you. And then you never know what you're going to get for backline. So man, when I've heard other bands like Accept or anybody else, you can't tell the difference. It's at least with the Kemper, it just sounds killer. It sounds so good.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. I think like I listen to the quality of even like sampled drums and like drums now. It's the technology has gotten so good. You're literally playing like almost a real kit, like with the samples are just matching and the velocity and all that kind of stuff. So I can only imagine that the technology. I need to get out to Guitar Center and try out some new gear, obviously.
Yeah, I'm not a huge gearhead. I like to play. I wish I was a
Yeah.
huge gearhead, but it just takes away
The
all the
travel. It makes it easy to travel.
because when I would travel with my big old pedal board, something would be a knob would be missing, a patch cable would be messed up, or something. And this is just, God, it's made life so easy.
That makes sense. Yeah, if you're doing a lot of shows, like, I mean, why not make it easy on yourself?
Yeah, versus me trying to lug my big old tube head. I don't miss that. But of course, we've got them for the studio still, so we still have all our gear.
You can always record to it and then like save your sound on a USB and plug it in. Yeah. I used to people like in the like this technology shift kind of happened earlier in the like electronic music world, right? Where people were like people are mad at DJs because they're not spinning records anymore and carrying like buckets of records around. They have it all on a computer. And people are like, well, you're not a real DJ if you're not using records. And I was always like, that's like saying you're not making a real phone call if you use an iPhone. It's like the technology's there. Like, you got to use a rotary phone if you want to make a real phone call. It's like, no, the technology has changed, guy. Like,
exactly. And you got to eventually learn to embrace it. I'm not for the AI stuff coming and doing music, but I'm all for this help where I'm not having to carry a 412 cab by myself, or I like it to where I can get all my own gear and not need help without breaking my back.
It's a game changer for travel too, because if y'all have to go do a show somewhere that you can all fly in with your gear, instead of all having to jump into a bus together.
Exactly. Like for the band I play in Heaven Below, it's all Kempers as well. And I mean, really, a lot of the bands that I've seen don't even have cabs on stage anymore. It's a trip. They're just going direct. I mean, I still use a cab. Just everybody else is, when everybody else is using a cab, you got to use a cab. But it's a trip. Some people just don't even have cabs up there anymore. They're just going direct and put it in the monitors and in the in-ears, and away you go.
If it works, it works. I mean, make life easier in that respect. Like that's what technology is for, right?
Yeah, because touring is already so crazy expensive. It's only gotten crazier with the cost of everything. So anyway, we can make it work. We make it work.
That's awesome. Well, let's talk a little more about your other band, because I haven't even checked any about that stuff out. How long have you been doing that? Was that you talked a little bit about it, but what was your most recent release, and when does that band play?
It's called Heaven Below. I started playing with them maybe 2018. I started filling in for them. It's actually we were just friends at the time, but he's my husband now, is the front man, and he's playing
the one who's on the YouTube videos with you that I saw with
Patrick Kinnison. So it's his band, and so I kind of jumped in and started playing with them, and at the time I started playing with them, they were already almost done with a cover album, which is an original band, but they were doing a cover album called Rest in Pieces, and it's like a tribute to all of the musicians that have passed away. So it's a bunch of covers from departed music.
Wow, that's a cool concept.
Yeah, so like we did a Linkin Park cover of Crawling where I sang on that. It's piano, so we changed it up. Some of the songs are very straightforward, like there's a AC/DC and stuff like that, to where it's very true to the original. And then there's some, like we did Alice in Chains. Oh my gosh, I'm blanking on the song. We play this one all the time. Down in a Hole. Where that one was very broken down, and I sing on that one too. So I contributed to some of that album. But right now we are doing an original album. So as soon as my album is out and we've kind of died down a bit on that, we're going to finish up this Heaven Below album and hopefully have it out early in the first quarter next year.
Awesome. What kind of, if you were to describe how that band sounds, how would you describe it?
It's kind of straight up rock with like metal touches. Some of the there's, I guess the last original album was called Good Morning Apocalypse, and I just loved that album. So I was really stoked to start playing with the guys, because it's a lot of solos. It's kind of, I wouldn't say, I guess some of it is kind of Avenged Sevenfoldish with the solos. But yeah, it's kind of just straight up rock with hints of metal lead guitar stuff.
Okay.
Yeah. So not too far from my stuff, but with different, with Patrick on vocals. And we actually, the drummer Shad for Heaven Below played on a
solo record,
and he's playing in my solo show too.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Excuse me, sorry.
A little bit of double duty, just pulling from, it's a lot of kind of incestuous stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it's music, just play.
Yeah. If you get a lot of people, you got to do it, because it's hard to jive with people when you get somebody good.
Yeah.
Stick with them.
There's I can't remember what I was watching the other day about. We were talking about bands and how like 90% of the job is like being able to work well with other people.
Yes.
You don't even have to be that great of a player if you can get along with everyone.
Yes, that boy is that important, especially you see these people more than, at least for me, more than you see your own family. So
yeah,
become like family, especially if you're doing a tour bus situation or you're in a van. So you gotta definitely be able to get along with everybody, or else it doesn't matter if you're the best guitar player, drummer in the world. I don't think anybody will stick around with you that long if you're unbearable.
Totally. And I mean, that's a secret to a band like Metallica too, is it's like they have such longevity because they can tolerate each other. They've been together for so long.
Yeah, it's definitely you're like a family.
I've noticed this a lot more too, where I see a lot more bands where like fathers and sons or like fathers and daughters are playing together. We interviewed a guy a couple weeks ago from a band called Cold Words. He used to be in Saliva, and he's got this band now with two of his sons. And Max Cavalera from Sepultura has a band with one of his sons, and I'm just like, that's really cool. I mean, might not be if you tour, you're like
that's really awesome though. That's really cool. Like, you have that love and that passion that you could share with your family. I know my parents fly out for a lot of my shows and everything, so
that's awesome.
That's really cool.
Were they were super supportive of you when you started playing and stuff, and like bought you guitars and all that?
Oh yeah. I think the first time they saw me play, we hadn't played around Dallas yet, where I'm from. So we were playing El Paso, and they drove out 9 hours to El Paso to see the Maidens play there. And they're flying out next week for my solo show too. So they're super, super supportive.
Texas is so vast.
Oh gosh, we're driving there for Christmas instead of flying, and it's like half the trip is Texas.
Yeah.
It's like,
from LA.
Texas. Oh yeah. Yeah, it's a good close to 24 hours, even if you're hauling ass.
I have one brother who lives in Dallas, and I have another brother who lives in Austin. So.
Oh, yep.
I spend a lot of time in Texas.
Okay, see, yeah, that's I love it. I miss it there a lot, but I don't miss the weather. I'll tell you that.
Yeah. Who was I talking to a couple weeks ago that was in Texas, and I was just like, man, the heat there when I was in Dallas, it just doesn't stop. Like it goes through the night. Like here, at least it cools off at night.
Yes, exactly.
In Dallas, I'm like, it's like midnight, 2 a.m, and I'm like, why am I still sweating?
It's so humid. Like last night, it was so nice. We had a barbecue out front with my neighbors, and everybody. We had a fire pit, and everybody was still like, "Oh, we have to go get our hoodies. It's cold." Like, how nice is that? That's so nice. You know, I don't even have AC here where I live, which is unheard of in Texas. You know, which can be brutal a few days out of the year, but right now it's just
Here it's like, even if you don't have AC, like if you like kind of like leave the windows closed and during the like leave the windows open at night and then like close them in the morning and capture the cool air.
Yep.
You can like kind of like it'll get hot for a couple hours in the afternoon, but then once the sun goes down, you're gonna be fine.
Exactly. The animals don't mind.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
You don't have like old people dying of heat stroke or anything.
Definitely could not do that in Texas at all.
Yeah.
Open there ever, but I do miss it. I miss it.
I grew up originally in Utah, so I don't miss it, but it's fun to go back sometimes, you know, and just revisit where I'm from.
Oh yes, like around Salt Lake.
Provo, actually.
Okay.
So just south of Salt Lake. Where I'm not Mormon, so I think that's another reason it's not. But you know, you don't have to be Mormon to like Utah.
Yeah. Oh, that's funny. Yeah, we do Salt Lake City sometimes. We played somewhere else too in Utah. Where?
I mean, it's Salt Lake. Okay, Salt Lake City is an interesting town because it has a culture that is very like militantly like anti like conservative, I would say, because of it's surrounded by like very conservative, dogmatic like religious people. So Salt Lake has like a very rebel spirit. There's like their music is like, I've heard bands say like Salt Lake is their favorite city to play just because people love music there. There's a very huge like underground kind of art scene, almost like a backlash to the conservatism to some extent.
Yeah, that makes sense. I never thought about that before, but yeah, that totally makes sense.
Yeah. Do y'all have any touring plans for when your album is released? Are you just, I know you're playing a show out here, right, for the album release, but are you doing any other shows around that?
I have two shows in December in Arizona. They're opening for the Burning Witches.
Oh, okay.
And I just booked a show. I can't say it yet, but it's a really cool one. Awesome. I can't wait to say, because I'm dying to say, but I literally just got a confirmation of it yesterday. It'll be in January.
I know how that goes.
I know.
Wait till the ink is dry.
Yeah. So it looks like I really want to do as many as I can. It's just in between touring schedules. That's the difficult thing, is getting everything lined up in between the Maidens tour schedules and everything.
Mm-hmm. So you got them, and then the Heaven Below stuff, and then your solo stuff. So
yeah, and Patrick plays for Lita Ford. So
okay.
Also, he does all the backing vocals and a lot of the guitar too.
That's amazing. I didn't know that. That has to be awesome too. Like, she's obviously, you know, a legend in the metal world.
Yeah. She's awesome. She's so sweet. They're actually on the road right now. So it's really even more difficult because they're touring a lot too. So it's, we do all we can, but eventually I would love to be able to do a good chunk of shows and really focus on it and push it. So
around the solo stuff.
Yeah, I really hope so.
Yeah, it's on the Lita Ford thing. I think it's really cool. I've talked to a lot of females who front bands now, and I don't think that it was uncommon in metal. You know, you always had like Lita Ford, or I was thinking today about Jennifer Batten. Do you remember her?
Oh yeah, insane guitar player.
Yeah. So there's always been women there, but I feel like now is like such a great time. There's so many great like female fronted heavy bands like Ginger and Arch Enemy and Spirit Box and like all these incredible like heavy bands too. Like I just talked to Mixie from Stitched Up Heart a couple weeks ago, and this girl from A Light Divided. So I think it's a really cool time just in general for music, but it's really cool to see like that level, like a real surge in like female fronted heavy stuff. So.
Yeah, we're doing there's a 3-day festival in Mexico City in December called Life After Death Horror Fest.
Okay.
The first day we're playing, and it's pretty much an all female day. And it's got it's us, it's got Lita, it's got Doro, Lacuna Coil, Butcher Babies, like
Wow.
it's gonna be a blast. And I wish we were staying for the whole thing because the other days are insane. The lineup is insane. So, but yeah, it's just a whole day. I was like, oh, is that going to be like an all female day? I'm like, it is. It is. So
that's super cool. Yeah, there's a bunch of bands I didn't even think. Butcher Babies, In This Moment, Within Temptation. There's like Elaine, who we've talked to, like so many.
So many. And that's growing up when I was a teenager, I would just we had a store called Hastings that my mom and I would go to and just go browse all the CDs. And that was like our favorite thing to do, just go and buy CDs. And I would just go and I'd look, and if I would see a woman on the cover, I'd be like, I wouldn't even know who it is, but I'd be like, ooh, this looks metal, and there's a female singer. That's how I discovered Nightwish. I was like, well, oh, that's cool. And I remember, I would get home and listen to it, be like, oh, awesome. So especially growing up as a teenager, I loved seeing women in metal because I was like, God, I can do that too. So yeah, great time. Even more, you see it everywhere now.
Yeah, I'm so blown away too with like a lot of like people that are like, not only are you doing the music, but it's like you have a whole business side of it that you're taking care of too. And it's like I have so much respect for that. I look at like people like Mixie and this other girl who they're like, it's their band, like they're running the show.
Yeah,
they're bosses.
It's no joke. It's just because I'm not on a label or anything. This is all just me right now, which I like because I have total control over everything. Printing CDs, doing all the merch now, which is new for me, booking shows. It's a whole, man, it's not easy. So, shout out to everybody doing it, because you got to really love what you're doing to make it work, because it is a lot of work. But
respect.
it's worth it.
It's a cool time too, in the sense that we've talked about this a few different times, but just the state of music, it's kind of like it's the ability to record and distribute has become kind of like cheap enough that a lot of different people can do it.
Yeah.
So like almost anyone, the bar of entry is pretty low. So like a lot of people can put stuff out, and it's like it's hard because there's this fire hose of like great music constantly coming out. So you have to be really good, and on top of it to kind of rise to the top of that. But
absolutely, I was watching because things are constantly changing too. Like I'm having to read about releasing it on Spotify and what's the best way to promote and what's this and what's that, because it's just constantly changing.
Yeah.
And I forget how many songs it said are uploaded to Spotify a day. I forget that the curators have to go through for playlists, and I forget it was some insane number, and they're like, there's people having to listen to each of these songs. So it's just this constant overload of music. That's just like you said, since everybody can do it now. I mean, if you get a little MacBook like I have, it's got GarageBand on it. That's how I did all my demos. I don't know how to use all the other stuff, but anybody can do it now. If you can write and you can just hit record on that GarageBand, you can put it out there.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's funny too, because I remember going to a concert a couple months ago, and it was like right after COVID. I think it was the Bobby Lees or like some band like that. And I just remember going, wow, the only reason I know about this band is because a PR person messaged me about it. Hey, like you should check this band out.
Okay.
And so I started asking people at the concert. I was like, how did you find out about this show? And this one couple who I was chatting with, the guy goes, we heard about it on Spotify. We listened to this band. And we got a notification that they were coming in to the area, and we hurried out and bought tickets. And I was like, wow, that says a lot, because when I was a kid, it was like I had to go to Headbangers Ball or like, Countdown MTV or whatever, or, listen to public access radio to find bands, or like you were saying, dig through a, oh, I like the cover. This one has a demon on it. I bet that's cool,
Well, it's got to sound cool too.
Right. But now it's like the game has completely changed, where if you write a great song and people like it, like you don't even have to spend money. Like people will share it,
Yeah, it's crazy. I for this show, because like I said, this is the first solo thing I've done. I went old school and I printed little flyers, and I've
That's awesome.
Maidens just played at the venue that I'll be playing, so I went out, and if somebody wanted a picture, okay, here's a flyer. I'm playing. I went out there, and I'll probably go on Friday and just try to work it, because it was interesting. I played their acoustic opening for a Led Zeppelin tribute, who were awesome. And a bunch of people came up and they're like, I had no idea you were playing here tonight. And they're like, I was like, well, how do you find out about your shows? Like, how do you find out? And they're like, oh, I don't really look at social media. I was like, huh. Because I know social media has gotten so limiting to who, with the algorithms and everything, what people see, they're so limited. Like I said, constantly inundated.
Censorship.
So it's interesting. I guess email lists are a good one too. If you like, and go sign up for their email list so that you'll know when things are happening, or just Spotify. That's such a great. I actually need to get. That's something I still need to do, is get all of my shows up on there.
Yeah, people follow you, and then you can send notifications out to your followers through Spotify.
Yeah.
I think you're going to be good though, because you have an audience already. Like I was saying, you got people making clips of your stuff for you. I saw Theo Vaughn. I don't know if you know who he is, the comedian, but he was saying, like, I don't even have a TikTok. He's like, I do my podcast, and like other people make clips of my stuff on TikTok. So like you're in that role, where you have people.
I tried TikTok. I got it, and I'm like, I got it, but I don't get it.
Yeah.
So I have one, but it's just not my thing. I don't enjoy sitting and making videos. I much would rather be out there playing live.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I would rather be out there playing myself, but I'm sitting at home making videos. So. But it's okay. I'm not complaining.
I'm horrible with technology, and like I have a Patreon, an amazing Patreon family, and I'll be like, I'm going to sit and play through these songs, and then nothing works. The cable's not working. This isn't working. Oh gosh, guys, sorry, I'm a musician. I'm so bad at this.
Well, you've got people out there, but like, to me, that's the new landscape. Is the power is with who has the audience, and you have an audience. Yeah. So it's kind of like you can do whatever you want. Like if you can, you might have to do a little bit of work to like rally some stuff, but you can send a mass notification out to your Spotify followers or your YouTube followers or anything like that. And you've already got people making content for you. So I don't think you need to figure out TikTok. It's not. Yeah. I just started dabbling in that stuff because Instagram is totally copying TikTok now.
Yes.
And it's how we promote. And so it's been cool for me, because what's cool about doing these kind of interviews is I can like do a long form interview with someone and then go back and go, oh, this was a cool little section, this like minute and a half piece where we talked about X or Y or Z or whatever, and then cut that out and throw it on TikTok. And they have an AI that like generates captions and whatever. And it's like, hopefully people see that and go, oh, I want to watch the full interview now.
Right.
But
see, yeah, it's an amazing tool. It's such an amazing tool. Everything, because like I said, when I first started, YouTube was kind of new, still at its beginning phases, and I just was like, well, I'm gonna grab my little horrible digital camera here and just sing and play along to stuff. So boy, it's how far it's come since those days. And the crazy thing is too, that was probably when I was 17 or 18 years old.
I was going to say, how ago did you start doing YouTube?
Gosh, that was probably 2000. 2006, 2007, maybe before,
Almost 20 years.
maybe 2005. And I still have people to this day that say, I've been following you since your YouTube videos where you were in your bedroom playing songs. And
That's amazing.
such a trip to me because I stopped focusing on the videos, obviously, but wow, I mean,
Still
that's
out there.
such a
You
trip.
graduated past that. Like,
So, yeah, it's such a trip. And I'm so thankful for anybody that's followed or listened to anything, especially since I was just a kid in my bedroom.
yeah, again, it's a really cool time. If you've got the talent and the drive to, create and put things out there,
Yeah.
people can find them. And like I said, you've got the audience, like the power is in I think that's the interesting dynamic too these days about like record labels. I don't think that, I think record labels are still valid, especially when they're record labels that like care deeply about their artists and like
Yeah.
curate artists that they love and whatever. But like, a record label in a lot of cases won't even look at an artist until they have an audience like you do. And once you get to that point, you don't need a record label if you got just a little bit of hustle.
Yeah. 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 I mean, I've talked to one or two before, and I mean, I just asked him, what can you do? It was just a valid, because I like to know exactly where is the money? What is, because I kind of, it's all me. And they couldn't really tell me much. And I was like, well, then I'm not going to have a third person coming in and taking some of my money when I've already put this CD out. And so, I mean, we'll see what happens in the future, because I don't know. I mean, right now we, like I said, my husband Patrick helps tremendously, and I have a great Patreon page that helps. Like, we just filmed a music video for the first single, "Where the Demons Lie," that should be out next week.
Awesome.
Hopefully right around the album release, and that couldn't have been done without my Patreon, because all their support. I couldn't do it without them.
I love that. There's this band I love called Mindless Self-Indulgence, and they did a record a couple years ago. Have you heard of them? Through like GoFundMe. And this guy who donated the most, like, got a song about him on the album.
Yeah.
And they're just totally roasted him. The song is like "You're No Fun Anymore," Mark Trezona, like it has his name in it and stuff. But I mean, that's so cool, because that's a band, again, another band who, much like you, built their own audience, and they were on a label, I think, for a minute, but then they realized, we don't need a label.
Yeah.
We have the audience. So
wow, it's just crazy how everything has just changed. The whole business aspect of it has changed.
It's the power has gone back a lot to the artist.
Yeah.
In that respect. Thank you, Steve Jobs, I guess. Like,
yeah, right.
But I feel like that's kind of starting to happen now in the film industry. I don't know, like, if you're following what's going on, like with the strikes and stuff, where it's like, okay, like all these writers are striking because the studios don't want to pay them anymore. But it's like, writers, like, you're the ones with the power. Go start a podcast. Like,
that's true.
That's what everyone's listening to now.
Yeah, that's so true. Yeah, and I have actually, we were just talking about it last night, because a lot of people from the film industry around here, and I have a lot of friends that are very affected by it. It's not just the writers. I have friends that are grips and
people that work on sets.
They're out of jobs right now. They can't do anything.
Makeup people. All that. Yeah.
It's bad. Yeah. When you see all the people that are affected by it, it's much larger than people realize.
Actors. Yeah. And people are so, like, ready to hate on Hollywood. Like, oh, F the actors, and they're stupid. And they're, everyone's mad at Hollywood because, let's be honest, it's awesome here.
See, my film degree was radio, TV, and film. So if I didn't do music, I've had the background in film production. So, I picked two hardest things to kind of make it in. But yeah, you
already made it in kind of both of them. Like, you have a big YouTube audience, and you're a career musician.
Well, I could never act, but I definitely wouldn't be doing that. I like the behind the scenes stuff for the film.
Yeah,
stuff.
You don't need to act. You're a musician.
Yeah, exactly. I already tried to do some of that in my music video. That was I had to act mean, scared. That was a new one for me.
That
Acting.
that's a difficult thing. Like
Yeah.
it makes me respect actor, like when they put you in a room where you're like, okay, be mad at this wall or something.
Whoa.
You're like, okay, you don't know how it's gonna look when it's finished, but people don't realize that either. It does take a little bit of
Oh.
skill and talent to make that stuff look legitimate.
Oh yeah. I can't even imagine. Can't. I was in drama and I forget what grade. It was not good. I was not good. I was too shy. I was like, I don't like this. But for my video, having to be in front of everybody and acting and trying to, like I said, be the front person and then do these kind of acting scenes with this demon in the corner. Yeah, that was a learning experience.
Well,
So
I always say, like, I like being uncomfortable because I know I'm growing.
yes,
So at least now you got to be a front woman. You're growing. You're
yeah.
challenging yourself. You're evolving.
Oh, absolutely. This has been such a huge, huge learning experience, this whole process. So hey, it's a journey.
Yeah.
Journey.
Yeah. Well, we've been on for an hour now, so let's wrap things up. I don't want to keep
All
you
right.
stuck here all day. Thank you so much for taking the time. The album comes out the 29th, right?
Yep. September 29th.
And where else can people find you? What is there anything else that you want to talk about or kind of put out there?
Oh, I think we covered it. If you Google me, my website is nikki-stringfield.com. My web store is on there too. You can pre-save Apocrypha and pre-order it on iTunes and Spotify. It'll be everywhere on September 29th. If you pre-order the merch, I'm already shipping out all the pre-orders, so there's a good chance you'll get it before the actual release date.
A lot of people like to have the hard copy too.
I'm still that kind of person. I love physical media. So
Are you doing vinyl at all?
yes, I am doing. We have all the files for it. We just have to finish getting the files mastered because you have to do a specific process for vinyl. But
Awesome.
I do have splatter vinyl for Harmonies for the Haunted available still.
Okay.
And those look really cool. They're purple and black splatter. But there will be a picture disc and a gatefold for Apocrypha.
Awesome. People can't sleep on that seal cover.
I know. We're like, what do we do for the next music video? Because we're always thinking way ahead, and then we're like, is it gonna be Kiss from a Rose? So
it's good. It's good.
Maybe we might have to do one for that one.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that'll get some attention. Like I said, I think it's such a great fit for a metal song.
Yeah.
I bet Seal would take note.
That would be awesome.
Yeah.
That would be awesome. I guess we'll see.
Well, Nikki, come back through and talk to me again or talk to us again when you're promoting something else, when Heaven Below's touring or you got a new release or just whenever you feel the need to chat.
Absolutely. I'll be looking forward to it. And thanks so much for having me.
No, I appreciate your time.
Awesome. Well, have a great rest of your day and we'll talk soon.
Absolutely.
All right.
Thanks again. All right. That is pretty awesome. Obviously, I knew she was in that other band, but I didn't do enough research. I'm gonna have to go listen to that stuff. But check out Apocrypha. I wasn't lying what I said about the seal cover. It's top tier. She did a fantastic job with it. The whole album is amazing. It's epic metal in the old school style. A lot of peaks and valleys, a lot of light and shade, she's an incredible guitar player and arranger. The vocals are awesome. So check it out, Apocrypha, September 29th. And, get out and see the Iron Maidens, incredible Iron Maiden tribute band, and her band with her husband, Heaven Below. Check out their stuff as well. And thank you all for tuning in today. I got people booked all week for this, so I'm pretty pumped about how things are shaping up with this live stream because we've already had a lot of great guests and we have a lot more coming up. So let me just run through a quick slate of who we got coming up for the next couple of days. So tomorrow we got Sin Corinne, of Siglos. Sin is also the former guitar player for Ministry, Al Jorgensen. He's played with a bunch of other massive bands, so the guy is just like a career badass. And then Morten Toft Hance of As in Hell is going to be here on Thursday, the 21st. And then we got like a couple brutal ass days coming up. We got As in Hell coming up, and then Friday we got Fred Calderon, bass player from Carnifex, and they're another real extreme heavy band. So we kind of run the gamut. You know, I feel like we get a lot of we don't get as many of the super extreme bands as I would maybe like. So I'm happy that we have this kind of lineup. And then next week on the 25th, we got Serena Cherry of Svalbard coming on. And then the 26th, we got a doubleheader. We got Steve Zing, who's been in Danzig. I just saw him out with Prong. I think he played with Prong. He has a project called Black 29. He was in Sam Hain. So the dude, another like old school legend. And then we got Dave McNally of Derision Cult, another old school vet in the metal world. And then on the 27th, we got Igor Amadeus Cavalera. Yes, that is Max Cavalera's son, not his brother. It's Igor Amadeus Cavalera, not Igor Cavalera. But they have a band called Go Ahead and Die, which if you haven't heard that yet, you're going to find out all about it on the 27th. So thank you for tuning in. Check out Nikki's stuff, and we will see y'all next time. Keep it brutal.